Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give a buck or two. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support.
Well, we are live here, folks, at Night Dreams Talk Radio again. And boy, am I excited tonight for the show that we've got planned for you. We've got a lot of folks on the line that are going to kind of give us a little update on things before we start. And then we've got some interesting information to give you all about the Project Blue Book television series that's coming down the pike on the History Channel. So, first of all, I need to introduce my good friend and fellow ufologist, Peter Davenport, who is on the line with from the National UFO Reporting Center. Hello, Peter. Are you there?
Well, good evening, Michael. Good to be with you again.
Oh, well, thank you. Any night's a good night when I can get a hold of you for potential updates on what the heck is going on out there in ufology and the sighting reports around the country. I'll bet things are kind of getting hot and heavy out there from what I gather.
Things are going on. They haven't quieted down at all. In fact, if you'd like, I have a stack of recent reports sitting in front of me on my desk as I speak, and I can just go through them quickly. I know you have a number of people lined up ready to make appearances following me, so I'll be very brief, but I could share with our audience some interesting reports that have come in recent days.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. Let's hear them.
Let me just tick them off here. The first one comes from the 30th of October from the Mount Rainier area. A gentleman was flying from Yakima to Seattle on an airliner. He estimates, he's a pilot himself, estimates he was at 12 to 14,000 feet aboard the airliner when he saw a delta-shaped craft go right by the airliner and disappear in a clump of cloud right next to the airliner. We should have that posted sometime tomorrow. And it's a good lead-in to the next report that is more recent from the 7th of November. A gentleman writes from Salt Lake City that at 7:10 p.m. on the 7th of November, that was a Wednesday, I believe, he was out at night looking at the night sky, and he saw a black V-shaped object with white lights on the ventral surface just go streaking over his head. The total sighting lasted, he estimates, about 10 seconds, or perhaps even a bit less.
Wow.
And that, in turn, leads to the third report, which comes from Apex, North Carolina, just on the west side of Raleigh, North Carolina. A woman and a friend of hers who is a commercial pilot, airline pilot, and the neighbor were out walking when they saw and heard an object go right over their heads. Unfortunately, it clouds the report a little bit because it had red and green lights on it, but they were flashing green lights, and the object settled on the other side of a row of trees on her property. And another neighbor saw the same thing. The object then lifted up off the ground, apparently, and went streaking off into the nighttime sky. Very interesting report. I've spoken with the woman who submitted it, and she strikes me as being an absolutely solid witness. The next report comes from Monroe, Washington. I know the town well. I'm sure you do too, Michael.
Yes, definitely. The Monroe Fair I go to every summer out there. It's a wonderful place.
There's a soft spot in my heart for Monroe because that's where I learned to fly gliders when I was at the University of Washington.
Oh.
But 4 witnesses were in a house on the east side of Monroe looking out at the beautiful night sky. This is on the 9th of November, Friday night at 7:50 p.m., and they were flabbergasted, apparently, to see 2 red lights descend out of the night sky just in formation, unwavering formation. They disappeared behind the eastern horizon, although on the near side of the Cascade Mountains, they believe. And where they disappeared behind their effective horizon, there was a huge glow of red light. What those objects might have been, God only knows. The next report comes from Salem, Oregon, written by a mother who was traveling with her two daughters. This is the 10th, now Saturday, last week, a week ago tonight, at 6:35 p.m., so almost exactly a week ago. She was driving in Salem, Oregon, and saw a huge, dark, silver, disc-shaped object hovering in the night sky. She slowed her car way down so she could get a better look at it. Then she realized there were two others in the night sky located very close to the first one. She was totally flabbergasted, has no idea what she saw. And a couple more reports to close it off here. This comes from the 16th of November, and it comes from Pakistan, so that makes it the 15th of November our time. A gentleman who's posted to a very secure military base in Pakistan was out jogging when he looked up and saw an intensely bright light approaching his position. He gives a very thorough description of it. I suspect this gentleman is in the military himself, judging from how nice his report is. And the object streaked from east to west, he says. I don't know whether he was facing north or south. Streaked from east to west and disappeared into the night sky. He talked to his commanders about this, and interestingly, his commander, an F-16 pilot, averred that he himself had seen UFOs at other times. So I've requested that the commander submit his reports of what he has seen. Last report I'd like to share comes from Nashville tonight. Something very unusual happened. People reported on social media tonight in Nashville that an object was seen to come down out of the sky at high speed, slow down and pause and hover motionless, at which point allegedly it split into three parts and disappeared. All the three parts streaked off in different directions. If the object had not slowed and split into three parts, I would have guessed it was part of I think it's the Leonid meteor shower that we're in the midst of now. But meteors do not pause, they don't slow down, they don't split into three and go streaking off in three separate directions. So that's the type of report I'm getting, and if we have any listeners around the world who've had UFO sightings recently or in fact at any time in their lives, I'd like to invite them to write it all down in detail and submit a report using the online report form at ufocenter.com.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's fascinating stuff that is going on here. Now, this one from Nashville, just tonight you're saying, that reminds me of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie when they're stuck behind the dark side of the moon, at that landing site, and then all of a sudden these objects come over the top of Devil's Tower and then split apart just like that and just disappear in the distance. Fascinating stuff.
In fact, I just had another report submitted within the last week. I've forgotten when it was and where it was, but the author of that report used the Close Encounters analogy himself, talking about when they were looking up in the northern sky at the Big Dipper, and suddenly all the stars in what they thought had been the Big Dipper started to move. So that's a common theme.
That's exactly what happened in the movie. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
It's funny you should mention that movie.
Yes,
We should have all of these reports posted to our website tomorrow. Our webmaster's been among the peripatetic. He runs a software company with about 40 employees, and it keeps him hopping. I have a hard time keeping up with him. This time it may require us to pass the hat to get bail money. I don't know. I haven't heard from him in a long time. But we should have all of these reports that I mentioned tonight posted to our website, ufocenter.com, sometime tomorrow.
Well, that's wonderful. And just one more question about the North Carolina. Sounds like a landing happened. And
Exactly.
At least those witnesses say that something landed.
Yeah. It landed, and I've encouraged them to go out into that field and see if they can see any marks, and to date I've heard no feedback. What I need is about a staff of 10,000 and a budget of several $1 million, and I'll have all this information pinned down tightly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why we're asking for all those volunteers out there, for people that are hearing us tonight, literally from around the world, if there's anything they can do to get those reports in writing, like you say, and posted to the National UFO Reporting Center. That would save you a lot of work, for sure.
Yep. But in brief closing here, we're getting many, many very interesting reports from credible witnesses. I'll be interested to hear what Maurene Morgan, State Director for MUFON, has to say about what they're getting these days. I'm sure they're getting a similar crush of reports, and I'll be monitoring on the internet, be interested to hear what kind of reports they're getting. And one other report I might add, yesterday, Friday, the 16th of November, there was a very dramatic event that occurred somewhere in Kentucky. I haven't received the follow-up written report yet. I don't know the exact location, but there was an immense blue flash in Kentucky. The person who called it in over the hotline is pursuing the incident, trying to get to the bottom of it. He's very close to a Duke Power facility. He's trying to figure out whether it might have been a transformer that blew up, but I'll be able to report on that in the future.
Oh, that sounds interesting. It doesn't sound like he heard anything, which probably puzzled him, Sue.
Exactly, and the nearest transformer is only a quarter mile from him, but you are correct, he heard absolutely nothing. When a transformer explodes, you hear the boom or the buzzing at least, and he heard none of that. So he said it at 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, it turned night into daytime for about 2 to 3 seconds and flickered twice. So I will report on that incident at a future appearance on Night Talk Radio.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Talk Radio, I'm sorry.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, Peter, thank you very much. This has been very informative tonight and very concise. I really appreciate your updates today.
And I appreciate the time, Michael. I'll let you get on to your other guests. I know they're anxious to start talking themselves.
All righty. Well, good night to you.
Good night. Thanks again. Bye.
Yep. Okay. Well, that was wonderful. That was very interesting. I mean, my gosh, we've got like UFOs landing. We've got black craft, delta-shaped craft. We even have an actual commercial pilot sighting something from a delta-shaped object, kind of like, it's not quite like Kenneth Arnold, but very close to it, over the skies in our neck of the woods out here in Washington State. Okay, well, listen, we have my other friend here, Vince Inzunza, on the line, I believe, and Vince is going to come on from Pacific Northward and give us some updates of his own of where the heck he's been for the last couple weeks. So, Vince, are you there?
Hey, Michael, I'm right here.
All right, wonderful. Well, how have you been?
I've been great. I am talking to you from Ocean Shores, Washington, at the Sasquatch Summit, where I am spending my birthday weekend.
Oh, well, happy birthday, buddy. What a great present, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Tell us what's going on out there, because that's Johnny Manson's big event here in the wintertime. For the Sasquatch aficionado.